Hello and welcome everyone to episode 139 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm, of course, Brandon Bovia, letterer of manga like Dragon Ball... I almost said Dragon Ball 8.
I'm just going to say you conflated Dragon Ball and Dragon Quest.
Yeah. And I'm also the English letterer of Kaiju number Super.
Oh, that's what you conflated. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Because I was thinking Dragon Ball Super Kaiju number 8, and I just... Yeah. I work on manga. How you doing?
I'm doing good because we were saying like last episode was basically all set up for the action. It's almost time for the action. There's more action. It's not quite fully set up, but it's there. It's basically there.
Yeah, that's I got a lot of interesting feelings about this set, which is like not entirely negative, but not entirely positive either. So I'm interested to kind of unpack all that. But you know, there is some, you know, for the hater in me, you know, I'm satiated.
Yeah.
This is fine.
Yeah. Well, let's get to it and parse those feelings with chapter 631, Concord Plaza. And as soon as you started reading, you texted me and showed me this opening bit where it's Crocus and Laboon hanging out with some mysterious stranger sharing a cup of sake.
Yeah.
And you said you still have no idea who this is?
I've got no idea
what this means. Because my first thought upon seeing this is like, oh, I wonder if it's the captain that got sick when Brook was from Brook's crew. But like, what does that mean for Laboon? And you know, is he instead just waiting for Luffy? I don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, I ended up looking at Reddit threads from a year ago, talking about this cover page, and there are some interesting theories on who this character is. Some that could potentially deeply important. But yeah, no, it's mostly just been kind of crackpot theories. Like it blows my mind that like, because obviously this is not just some random person.
No,
the design is too specific and too unique. Like it looks he's got a very kind of like Japanese styled hat, which makes me think this character might be from Wano or went to Wano at some point.
Yeah,
but
it definitely seems to be the indication.
That's all I got. Like I love that Oda can throw me curveballs like this and just be like, all right, here's a new character.
Bye.
We'll bye. We'll elaborate on this, you know, the next forever. And again, mind you, this, God, where are we at? We're at like 2011, 2012, maybe, in terms of real world releases.
Yes, something like that. I don't have an exact one.
So either way, over a decade ago.
Yeah, I know our next movie came out in 2012, so around there.
Yeah. So it's ridiculous, and I love it, but I also hate it.
Well, what are your feelings as we get into the chapter itself with Vanderdecken shaving the top part of his head because he's actually really upset that Shirahoshi rejected him.
Yeah, I just, and then he breaks into poetry. I think it's a haiku.
Yeah, it's a haiku.
Yeah, and it's just, he's so weird, and all that it happens is like, because he's just going through it, he's just like, he's in full cope mode now, and so he's just like, I'm gonna smash everything. And you see this shot of Noah, and he just says, I got a brilliant idea, and we're just like, oh no. Yeah,
and he seems to have really abandoned his idea from the flashback, it seems, where it seemed like he wanted to marry her so he could control her.
Right, that's true. Whereas I feel like...
And now he's just down for killing her.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's... And I think it really is just like... It's conveyed in kind of a humorous way, but I think his mind is truly broken. I think he cannot handle rejection.
No. He just has no fathom of... I don't know. I got nothing. It's so weird. Also, just noticed he does have to be in a bubble because he has a devil fruit.
Oh, yeah. That's a good observation. I didn't think about that. That was not on my mind.
I was too focused on the shaved head.
Yeah. That's just how bizarre.
Things aren't going well in Fishverley Hills because the entire Neptune army has been utterly decimated by just the sea beasts.
Yeah, not the first time, or rather, not the last time we will see characters get utterly decimated off screen.
It is very common in this set, that's for sure. It really feels like Oda's like, okay, we gotta move on.
I'm not upset about this one, for the record.
No. This is fine. We don't need to see them being, getting torn up.
It feels like basically the fighting has moved on, I think is what we're trying to convey here. Like, we're moving on to Concord Plaza.
Yeah, everything's very much coalescing there. And all the people are gathering, trying to find their way in. Of course, it's just like, what are we going to do against these guys? We can look in, but I don't think we can actually stop them if the Neptune army can't. And that's when we turn the page and get our new look for Hody. He's gone through a transformation because of eating so many of those steroids. And I got to say, it's a better look.
I 100% agree. Yeah. And this is more of the look that I remember and associate Hody with. So I was kind of I didn't remember how we went from point A to point B. And obviously it's just the drugs, but yeah. I really like the chair he's sitting on for some reason. It feels this is the most kind of like gangster mob bossy he's actually felt this whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the most he's felt like Arlong.
Yeah, very much so.
Because Arlong like to hang out in those type of chairs, and it's honestly a very impressive sight to have him sitting there, have Neptune strung up above him. There's the sea beast. There's the Kraken.
Yeah, the Kraken.
Just all there. I mean, I like the tattoos. I mean, he's had them before, but it's just like everything's more emphasized now that he's gone through this transformation.
We're definitely in like kind of final battle mode.
Mm-hmm.
I also like that King Neptune is very specifically not crucified.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness. I saw this like, okay, cool. He actually looks and feels like a threat. And that's absolutely emphasized when this soldier is trying to just get some sort of ground for the princes to pick up from. So he's getting ready to toss some dynamite at them. And Hody just drips down some water, flings it at him with a water shot, pierces not only him, but pretty much everything in the kingdom until it even just hits the mermaid area and just plops into the water. No problem.
Yeah, and that was the dynamite, right?
No, that was not the dynamite.
He dropped the dynamite. Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't even able to light the dynamite in time.
Yeah, so that was all just that one little water droplet. So there's finally our like, okay, he did something.
Yeah.
Good job, Hody.
He's on drugs, but it's like a permanent effect from the drugs, which makes a difference. It feels much more impactful. And literally, this is far more impressive than anything we've seen from ever saw from Arlong. Like, okay, he feels like a step up from Arlong finally. Again,
I always have to kind of double back to just sort of the tragedy of it all, the way that his goons are basically just like, your hair's all white and your body's completely changed. How do you feel, Captain? And he just like looks at his hands and he's like, perfect. While his face is clearly just like, he's roided out. Like he is.
He is.
He's in pain. He is suffering right now.
Yeah, he's full of power, but there's something else going on here. He's reached a point of no return.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We get that comparison. It was like, oh, I thought a water shot was only as strong as a normal punch, and bam, there you go. That's how it all goes. But the princes finally arrive, burst through the doors, and are ready to throw down. It's good to see the other brothers who looked always a little bit more goofy, actually looking fearsome.
It's not Fukaboshi. It's not Mamboshi. I forget the third one. Who's this guy in the bottom panel? Ryuboshi.
Yes.
Yeah, God, I couldn't read. He was right there. But that panel where he's like drawing his swords, he actually looks really threatening. He just goes, he's ready to throw hands. Re mi fa so.
Yep. I like what Fukaboshi also says, like, you're weaker than anyone else on this island because our people are willing to forget centuries of discrimination and forgive the humans. They're willing to work hard to build a better future. Why can't you respect that?
Yeah. This scene is awesome, by the way. I was pumping my fists seeing the princes.
We were hoping for something for the princes to do. And we get that, where they take out in just one panel every single sea beast.
Seeing the minister of the right and left kind of get taken out earlier this chapter. So this kind of feels like this. All right, now that we're here, we can get revenge and take care of this.
It gives you a sense of scale where, like, yeah, that's how strong these three are, that they're equal to the Neptune army itself.
I kind of like it too, with the Fukuboshi's speech, where it's kind of almost like Hody's hatred is holding Fishman Island back.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he lays it all out is just like, we're working hard to build a better future. And it's just like, our people are willing to get all of, those centuries of discrimination. And it's just like, we are going to fight for the future to, not be stuck in the past.
And it's just for the sake of the country. It's a clash between the three princes and the followers of Hody. And we could see each of them popping one of those steroids. And sure enough, that's where it ends, because we don't see the actual clash. It's just Shirahoshi and Jimbei heading towards it while riding Megalo. We never saw the outcome of what happened with him between him and Luffy, but
yeah, that's true. Yeah, because we cut away from it. But yeah, they're on their way now.
For whatever reason, Shirahoshi's joining him, which is honestly odd, but okay. But that's it for the chapter, and we do have an SBS talking about the bubbles that the mermaids use to ride on, which we had a good assumption of what that was actually all about. And then a discussion about how some artists of manga keep characters' mouths closed even if they're talking, and how Oda doesn't do that. And I thought that was actually a pretty interesting insight, because you can see him trying to be, not disrespectful to other manga artists.
Yeah. That it seems more like a matter of taste more than anything.
Yeah, where he's willing to have his characters not look cool at all times, just so it has that emphasis on they're talking right now.
Yes, and I think when you think about kind of like the big One Piece speeches, I feel like it is always so much more about like a character is gonna let it all out, even if they're kind of like an ugly sobbing mess. And I think that Oda's always been willing to depict characters kind of not at their best just to get the point across. Like it's not always about making the characters look the coolest in the moment. It's about how you're able to depict how they're feeling in that moment.
Mm-hmm. I mean the panel with the three princes, like each having their own panel, I guess is the best way to put it. The two other brothers are talking. Fukuboshi is silent and his mouth is closed. I honestly never noticed it before, to be honest. I never took note of that. But now that they mentioned it, it's like, oh wow, that is the case. Yet he's still able to convey, like, yeah, they look silly, but they do look fierce. And that's a great line to draw. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I like when we get insight.
Yeah. Making manga is very complicated, with a lot of kind of like micro decisions being made with every drawing.
Mm-hmm. Let's get to chapter 632 and talk about discussion points. Well, first of all, this is called I Knew, but I was just blown away by this, that Mr. I believe it was 8 or 9.
Oh, I don't remember.
I think it was 9. Anyway, Vivi's old partner.
yeah. I remembered him as Vivi's partner, but I did not remember what number he was.
Has gotten together, and I don't remember her code name either, has gotten together with Igaram's old partner. They got a kid now.
Yeah, it was just not at all on... It was not on my bingo sheet.
No, definitely not. I like that they're still hanging out at Whiskey Peak. They're still bounty hunters. They're just living their lives. And honestly...
good for them.
Yeah. I kind of forgot how Miss Whatever was an early example of the current trend of people loving their big buff women.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah. Oda was ahead of the curve.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Also, before we start, I just wanted to... As soon as I got to the chapter title, I was like, oh, I know what this is about.
Oh, yeah. I knew too.
Yeah, I was like, okay. Yeah. Oh, you knew? I do. Well, there you go.
Well... I didn't know who I knew was talking about, but I knew what was going to be revealed. But
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Let's get into it with a narration. It's like, the princes are fighting the new fishmen. Let's go watch. And it's all about the the fate of Fishman Island depends on this fight. This country will belong to Hody otherwise. And boy, did I question things with Shirahoshi at this moment. Like, thank God it gets clarified. Well, I don't know if it got clarified or not, but
it sort of did. Yeah, I was in the same boat where it was like, oh, there's this very obvious fake King Neptune. It just looks like it's made out of balloons and that it just off of the radio just says, hey, it's really me.
And the fact that Jimbei's with her is like it's like, oh, please don't tell me you're not going to get fooled by this, but we'll see.
So it's about as good of a result as I could have asked for, and I feel like it's just like we need to get these characters from point A to point B.
Speaking of getting to point A to from point A to point B, we go back to the Concord Plaza, and the fight is already over.
I was so mad.
Yeah.
Because we'd been talking about it. This whole arc was like, oh man, the princes, like, I really hope they kind of get their time to shine. And then they get it. They storm into battle and take on the sea beasts. It's awesome. I'm just like, yeah, we finally got to see them in action. They got their cool moment. And then it's just immediately like, oh no, they lost. Like, it's just, this is, I think, maybe the beginning of a worrying trend where I think Oda from here on out is going to start skipping fights that he feels like aren't super important to convey. Mm-hmm. I have a half a mind to wonder if I wonder if the anime showed it in full, because that is also something that if the manga skipped a fight, it's usually the anime's turn to like, well, we got to fill time somehow, so we might as well show it.
I mean, honestly, that's fair. It keeps him ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. It gives the anime stuff to work on while still being on stuff, and it gives something new for people who read the manga and watch the anime.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some really crucial stuff that the manga skips later on that I'm really glad that the anime took time to show.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. This is at least an example that's just kind of like, it's just a little eye rolling. It's just like, I wanted one thing.
We kind of got it, and then it was stopped. There's nothing we could do.
They're all tied up.
We do get confirmation that they were winning until they, ate the stuff, and of course that was enough to turn the tide and get them captured. Which, oh well.
Not to get distracted from the full point where the crowd is just like, all right, like we got them all tied up, we're ready to execute them, and Hody, keeping his eye on the ball, is just like, I gotta wait for a report from Vanderdecken. All of this is to get Shirahoshi here. The
entire reason he was working with Vanderdecken is just to stave off Shirahoshi and make sure she's not a threat. Mm-hmm. And then thanks to that weird trap, they've caught Shirahoshi, Megalon, and Jimbei.
Yeah.
And that was another thing with this chapter. It's like, oh man, Oda's really ready to get going because we didn't see the fight. We didn't get to see them get captured. It's just, bam, this is done. Bam, this is done.
Yeah. Which, God, it makes me really more upset about the parts I didn't like in hindsight, because this arc is starting to feel like such a bizarre use of time. Mm. I guess I could have my misgivings with some of the sort of opening act of the arc and the inciting incident and all of that, but now that we're kind of zooming through some of this stuff, it's like, well, why are we doing this now? And we're doing all this ridiculous stuff at the start of the arc. So it's just like, I don't know. It feels like Oda is kind of, he feels the time's ticking a little bit, and maybe by this point he kind of knew what the broad reception to the story arc was.
Yeah,
and it's just like, all right, time to wrap it up. And we're not nearly done yet, but like the way that things are starting to get skipped does feel like a telltale sign of like, okay, this is maybe not the way
it's not getting well received, so we should probably pick it up a bit and just get the essentials.
Yeah. Which I feel like I'm complaining and that I'll never be happy, but I guess I'm.
Oh wow!
I am glad that things are moving faster, but it is starting to just like, well, okay,
We do get a one panel of like, I do like the line. It's like, oh, upon a closer inspection, this isn't father. It's like, of course not.
Yeah, so at least Jinbei was just like, well, duh. Yeah. I love that line too where Hody, he just kind of, he's just like, I liked you better when you still had an edge to you, talking to Jinbei. Mm. He's just like, you used to be cool, man.
That's been his entire outlook, because nobody's as cool as I thought they were, so I gotta do it myself.
Yeah, even Arlong was a sellout.
But of course people were talking, it's like, wait, Shirahoshi's with Jinbei? I thought she was with Straw Hat, but did Jimbei rescue Shirahoshi? What? what's going on here? And Hody's just like, I got everybody in hand. Everything's all set. Now I just need to keep an eye out for the Straw Hats because they are the wild card in all this. But let's bring out the extra men. So here's 70,000 weapons-trained fishmen and 30,000 human slaves captured over the past month. Holy crap, that's a lot of pirates trying to go to the New World.
It is. Although, looking at them, they don't look ready to fight anything.
No.
It's just like, it's 100,000 is a clean number, but it feels like, no, what we really have is 70,000 fishmen and a bunch of corpses.
Yeah.
I do like, I wanted to comment on the previous page. I do kind of like, with sort of the average person kind of looking at the situation, it's just like, they have to be so confused right now.
Right? It's like, what is happening right now? But I do appreciate this. It really felt like Oda was taking the steps to like, okay, it's time to make Hody a threat. And
yeah,
between the transformation, the capture, and the huge army, it's like, okay, yeah,
we have an actual army now. Like this situation is starting to feel really, really desperate and dire. And the fact that this was all before he revealed that he had this massive army is like, all right, his coup was successful, basically.
Mm-hmm. But then all of a sudden, Madame Charlie shows up and basically just comes to taunt him, saying, hey, I saw the future, and the one who brought ruin to Fishman Island wasn't you. It was Straw Hat. So you're not going to affect anything. There's no future where you rule this land. And it's enough to piss him off that he just does his water shot right into Charlie.
Yeah.
Like,
and then there's a little bit of why were you? I feel like she was here so that Oda could say, oh, by the way, she's Arlong's sister.
Which I did forget about.
I didn't. I had no idea. So it's one of those things that I guess like there's not really any other good place for it, so we might as well just say it here.
I mean, it's an interesting connection to say the least, but
yeah, that's all it really is, though. It feels like it's like a Snapple fact. Like, yeah, okay.
It's a bit of a step down from seeing that Tom had a brother.
Yeah. I guess it just. Sure, yeah. I don't dislike it. It is just kind of like, oh yeah, Madame Charlie's here, and she, okay, yep, sure.
But it's enough to goad Hody into saying that, like I looked at the Arlong, but now I've got real power, and the Arlong pirates are just an empty symbol to bring fishmen together. But look at my army, look at my power. 10 years of planning this, and all started back that day when I killed Otohime.
What a twist.
Everybody there is shocked, even his own men, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure the readers all figured that out.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that like we talked about this and the way that Hody breaks it down, he was like, yeah, I randomly got a guy to set the box on fire. I remember being like, that's oddly specific.
Mm-hmm.
And then he basically, took the shot during the confusion. And, simple as.
Yep, that's how it all went down. And he... of course, this drives Neptune nuts, and Hody just pierces him with one of his water shots. Not dead, but definitely taking a wound. He's basically just saying she was in the way. She made everyone think it was wrong to seek revenge. She tried to persuade the inhabitants of this island to make peace with their oppressors, and she was about to succeed. I could not let that happen, so I killed her. I'm the assassin. And here's the actual big reveal that I think Oda knew he needed something a little extra. That was kind of obvious what happened. The fact that Shirahoshi knew that Hody was the killer all along.
Yeah, which that is an interesting twist into things, and I do like it, although I think, because I thought we were about to get sort of the full breakdown, but I think that's next chapter.
Yes.
So I'll wait until then to say it, to talk about it. Because that's really where the scene ends. It
feels like that's where the chapter should end, but no, we get this little extra thing with Vanderdecken and his big plan. He's tossing Noah into the island,
Oh,
basically.
well, maybe the prediction was wrong. It's not Hody, it's not Luffy, it's Vanderdecken who's going to destroy Fishman Island.
It's this ship is half the size of Fishman Island. That's insane.
Yeah, I feel like the scale, like I love the way that it never really kind of fits into frame. It is massive. And of course, I forget if we had learned this already or not, but the way that Vanderdecker just kind of slides in there, just like, a long time ago, the denizens of Fishman Island built this mysterious ship. We don't really know its purpose or why it's there or what it's for, but, apparently it was something built here.
It's quite curious, that's for sure. I feel like it has to do something with why the fishmen are settled here, but I don't know how to really coalesce that into anything tangible.
Yeah. I know a little more, but there is still, I think, a good amount of mystery into sort of the how and why. But I can see that feels like a revelation that is like probably on its way in the manga currently. I feel like we're probably about to find out not super long into the future.
We do have an SBS. I love this first one where I didn't see this. Again, eagle-eyed readers that just blow us out of the water. When Otahime is crying about the signatures, there's a fishman in the background, a mermaid, that looks exactly like Luffy's picture of a mermaid, where it's a human body and a fish head.
Incredible. From chapter 69, almost 500 or over 500 chapters ago, almost 600 chapters ago.
I remember the picture, but I just
I did. Yeah.
Wow.
I did not notice that in the background. That's incredible.
And we also got some world building where they were talking about Soul King's TD sales. Well, is that like CDs? Well, kinda, because TD stands for tone dials. So it's a shell that can store sound like the ones on Sky Island, and they managed to farm and improve upon that technology. So they're sold in pieces of two, and they can be enjoyed in headphone and stereo.
Huh.
Cool.
Yeah. I had no idea that Skypea technology was that far spread.
Yeah, I mean, they said there were other Sky Islands, and they said there were easier ways to reach the Sky Islands.
That's a good memory. I forgot about that.
That's the funny thing, is that they took the hard route.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and get to chapter 633, Friend or Foe. And naturally, what are Dory and Broggy up to? The same as ever. Nothing's changed in 2 years.
Not only the same as ever, and I kind of pogged at this because this literally, they were talking about this in the manga like a couple chapters ago, but their weapons broke.
Yes.
And that's why they're fighting with their fists.
It's probably for the best. The fists are, they're down to just a fist at this point, since we know they don't actually want to kill each other.
Yeah, so it's great.
Hody's quite confused though, because like, wait, you knew I killed your mother? And she's just like, yeah, a few years after the incident, Megalo told me the truth. He used to be the Neptune Army's mascot, so he saw
what the heck?
Everything.
The real meaty character aspect to this is that it's just the fact that Shirahoshi basically had been holding on to this information for 10 years, basically.
A little less than that, but because she said it was a few years after the incident, so
right.
seven-ish.
Oh yeah. But so that it's basically like it was Otahime's final words, like, don't let hatred consume you. And so it's just like, it's like a parent's like kind of like their dying wish to, I mean, what was she? She was like 4 when this happened.
I think 6.
6. Okay, man, the timeline's all messed up. But like the idea that like this is sort of like, this is the last thing that my mother left me with. So I like, and the way that even Jimbei is just kind of standing here like, she refused to hate the man who killed her mother. Like, such a thing would be almost impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. And somehow she did it. She never found herself hating Hody. She cried about it, of course, but she just made sure she never hated him. And of course, Hody takes this opportunity. He's like, oh, thank God you're stupid.
Right.
Because of you holding that in, the kingdom is finished. It's your fault. Everybody's going to die because of you. And Jimbei's immediately like, no, you did an amazing thing. Don't listen. I'm
kind of really glad about this reveal. I've kind of turned around on Shirahoshi as a character because of it, I think. Because I mostly remembered the annoying stuff.
I'll be honest, Shirahoshi, I've honestly not minded Shirahoshi this entire time. I remember being kind of annoyed with her the first time I read this. This time, she's fine. I think it's that perspective of she's our Kobe.
Yeah.
And you get to see that emotional strength there, where Kobe found the inner strength to stand up to Alvida and the Navy, despite his being absolutely terrified. Shirahoshi Her strength is she found a way to not hate somebody who killed her own mother.
Yes.
It really ingratiates you to her.
Yeah, for sure. And I really like that it's sort of, again, just think back to the Kobe comparisons. It is kind of like in that way that Luffy's presence kind of allows them to kind of become their best selves, right? Which is, I think, kind of what you always want out of a quote unquote weakling character who, you know, like it's not maybe about being like physically strong necessarily, but I always love the perspective of it's more than just like Luffy swooping in and saving the day. It's like in his own way, even if he never intends to do it, like he's going to enable these characters to kind of live out their lives, you know, the way that they had always wanted to. And I guess it's like that goes for the Straw Hats themselves too. So I guess that's just what
True.
Luffy's power is.
Yeah. I think that only makes her look even stronger because she did this without Luffy's influence. All Luffy's influence allowed for her was to have the strength to actually go outside and feel safe.
Yes.
So that's amazing in and of itself. I love this scene though. This was a absolutely hell yeah moment that I encountered for this one, which I wasn't expecting. And I honestly forgot about, where people were starting to freak out. It's like, oh God, we've been lied to. Neptune may really be killed. We just watched him and the princess get kind of skewered randomly by all those random water shots from Hody just to try to torture Shirahoshi, make her feel guilty. And the kids start asking Charlie, it's like, is Straw Hat really going to come and destroy this island? It's like, I mean, I don't know. I can only see what happens. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or a year from now. Well, I hope he comes. If he destroyed everything now, it'd be bad for us, but it'd be bad for them too. I want him to come because I don't want the king to die. Let the island be destroyed so we can save the people we care about and screw Hody from getting anything that he actually wants. We'd rather the island be destroyed, and that is amazing.
That's the kids, man.
Uh-huh.
They see it. They understand. Well, and maybe if they don't even sort of like actually understand kind of, you know, all of the sort of high level racial tensions, they understand that Hody's a bad guy doing a bad thing, and they like the king. And so if what it takes is it almost feels like a kill the past or whatever that line from Star Wars is, where it's just like I can really relate to and understand where the kids are coming from, where it's just like, just bury it all and start over. If this is what this is built up, and like if that's what it takes to kind of get this, to stop this bad person from doing a bad thing, then yeah, because I mean, they're kids, they don't know any better, right? Like they don't have any sort of like attachment to the past, you know, that they didn't grow up with. So I do think it is kind of really important, even if it's just for that one like couple panels to show how they're feeling about this too.
I didn't even think about that aspect, but yeah, that's Otohime's will and whole point coming to surface right here, right now, and even influencing the adults. That again, that everybody starts shouting, "Straw Hat, save us, please save Neptune!" And Shirahoshi shouts that as well. And that's when all of a sudden Megalo starts choking and spits out Luffy. And as Hody's about to outright kill Neptune, here comes Luffy with a jet kick right into Hody's chest. Yeah, and it feels great. Like hell, it's another one of those hell yeah moments where Hody goes crashing, everybody's freaking out. It's like, it's Luffy, and he of course has all the Gear 2 smoke around him.
Yeah, I got some mixed feelings on some of the 2-page spreads in the set. This one's a banger. Yes. This one's real good.
Just him with that audience being, and I think this is where his new costume really shines the most, to have that sort of flow to it.
Yeah, the sash kind of adding to the silhouette is real good.
It's fantastic stuff, and immediately that gets everybody cheering for him. And Jimbei, you can immediately see that also, that Jimbei's like, he came out already. I suppose he had no choice.
So he was in on it.
Oh yeah, he's totally in on it. And they're just like, the Jimbei starts out shouting out, "Do it now, all of you!" And it's like, what? What's he talking about? And that's when Nami comes out. I've been working as fast as I can because Luffy cannot follow a game plan. So there we go. And Nami has her thieving skills back. Yeah, she can use her mirage skills to be even better at stealing things, which I love. We as you mentioned a long time ago, her thieving ability gets sort of downplayed as time goes on. So I was really happy to see it pop up here.
Yeah, I'm actually unsure if this will ever come back up again. I cannot think of
extremely useful.
It does. I cannot think of a single example off the top of my head right now where it will come back up, but it is cool regardless.
Yeah, because she got a hold of the document from the Celestial Dragon, got the keys to Robin, and Robin immediately uses her abilities to unlock all the chains from the princes and Neptune. And here comes the whale along with the frickin' Thousand Sunny blasting the center of the center of the area, crashing into it, really showing how strong the Thousand Sunny is, that they can land like this all the time. The whale evacuates Neptune, and everybody's just like, oh my God, they're here. The Straw Hats are actually here. Are you really going to destroy this island? Why did you take over the castle? Did you kidnap the mermaids? Are you a friend or foe of the Fishman Island? And all Luffy says, as we have this awesome shot of everybody lined up together, you decide for yourselves.
Again, another banger 2-page. I think this one's probably one of the most iconic ones, actually. Just seeing all of, this is our first, real good shot of all of the time skip Straw Hats all lined up.
And they're all mostly in good poses.
Yeah.
Usopp has a bit of it's not coming out, and I love how Brook is a little bit more concerned about, he finally gets to see Shirahoshi. So he's much more interested in that.
Yeah. And I love, I don't know if it will be further explored than this, but the idea that again, for the average person, they have no idea what Luffy is at this point. And really, that was sort of how we started this arc. Mm-hmm. Once they got to Fishman Island, it was like whose side are you on, really? And so I will always appreciate Luffy and the Straw Hats' ability to just kind of cut through everything. And then it's just decide for yourself. Mm-hmm. You can make your decision one way or another. And I think kind of there is, in a weird way, kind of a whether it be a prophecy or whether it be hundreds of years of racial strife, it's just we're just us, and make of us what you will.
Before we end the chapter, I do want to mention, God, I love how good Jimbei looks in that profile. Alongside all the Straw Hats, he just sort of naturally fits in there.
Yeah, he's just he's one of the team.
I think we're going to get to see more of that as we get on. Well, we don't see it in this set. I can say that right now, but it seems I'd be shocked if Jimbei doesn't get a fight.
Yeah. This feels like it's his arc more than anything.
Yes, for sure. But let's get to chapter 634, 100,000 versus 10. And I love this spread because it's so character-based. It's so much more character-based than what we typically see, where it's usually just the Straw Hats with a bunch of animals. But we have those weird little mermaid girls. We have Papagu. We have Cammy. We have Shirahoshi and Megalo. And Hachi is there. It's cool to see just all the cast from this part of the story be there with everybody.
This feels like a good proper Fishman Island spread. I feel like if I'm going to think about this story arc, this is the vibes I want.
For sure. Oda taking advantage of, got a chance to put Nami in a bikini. Check that off.
Uh-huh.
A Crimin bikini. At least it's properly branded.
Yeah, of course. Wouldn't want any counterfeits.
Frickin' Brook and Shirahoshi just cracks me up. It's wrong, but it's just him tucked inside a little brawl.
That's, you know what? No comment.
Again, it helps. If he was Sanji, it'd feel weird, but because he's a skeleton, it's not great, but it's also it goes more into humorous.
I get the joke. Yeah. It's a silly visual, but sir, you're like 70.
That too. But we begin the chapter with a flashback where we find out how they finally come to a decision. It's like, Luffy saying, get out of the way. I'm going to beat them all up. And Jinbei's like, wait, what are we? We're friends. That's right. But for years, fishmen and humans couldn't be friends. I didn't tell you not to fight Hody because of that. We have to do it at the proper time. We have to plan for this. We needed you to do it as a hero rather than just some random pirate. And Luffy's immediately like, I don't want to be a hero.
Yeah, I love this speech because not only is it hilarious, it feels like it reveals so much about Luffy's character and what he has done up to this point, and I feel like even up to the end game potentially. And I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself, but the way that he breaks it down, where he's just like, we're pirates. I love heroes, but I don't want to be one. Do you even know what a hero is? And Jinbei's just like, what? And so Luffy, of course, in the most in-character way possible, says, say there's a bunch of meat. Pirates have their feast and eat meat, but heroes to give the meat to other people. I want to eat the meat.
Which is a weird analogy, but it also makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Oh, God, I love it.
I think the best way to break that down is he feels that heroes are bound to a quota.
Yeah.
That's another form of containment. Pirates are truly free. They don't have to stick to any one thing. He can do what he feels like. He doesn't have to do something just because he's a hero. He does it because he feels like it. Or as we've seen, you're my friend, I will tear down this government or this organization in order to help you. So
yeah. And I feel like there's always when I think about like all of the end of arc parties that we have, it's always like everybody is sort of partying together as equals. Yes. And I think that is also sort of part of Luffy's perspective here, is like, if he's a hero, that kind of puts him above other people, which is not what he wants,
No.
And so it's really silly, but like, this argument is actually, I think, really indicative of how he thinks. And it's to the point where the argument ends with Jimbei saying, I'll feed you all the meat you want if you do as I say. It's just deal.
And that is perfect. Jimbei immediately figures out Luffy's character. But yeah, we break down the plan. It's like, the success requires you saving me. So first, Megalo and I will get captured. We'll infiltrate the plaza with you stowed away inside Megalo's stomach. Someone else needs to steal the document of the Celestial Dragon and the keys to the King's shackles. That's where Nami and Robin come in. And once we've freed the king, I will ask for your help. Jump out of Megalo's stomach so that everyone can see that we're working together. The princess will stand by in a safe place outside the plaza. And once we've obtained the document, we'll escape with the king and her brothers. The rest of you, go to Ryugu Castle. Save your friends right away. As far as how to do that, good luck.
Yeah, and we don't see it. They just kind of do it, which is funny.
I think that's the key thing, is like Oda knows that we...
Yeah.
Of course, Brook or Papagu will get a hold of Zoro's sword. They'll save themselves. The whole thing is set in motion. We don't need to see it. We know how it's going to come on, unless there's going to be like one of the other henchmen left behind. Then we focus on it. But with nobody left behind...
I feel like there was definitely a version of this arc where that was at least 2 chapters.
I could see that, yeah. I also love this other thing from Luffy, is like, I'm only doing this because you asked me, Jimbei. I hate being cheered on.
Yeah, it's just hilarious. But again, also feels so bizarrely character rich. It just... Luffy being kind of... like the angry argument on this side is like, it's weird to see him kind of dissatisfied with this whole situation of just like, I don't like this because it's not my vibe.
It's also funny because we've seen him be cheered in the past. It just, he wasn't around to really hear it. He just was doing his thing. I also like how we get a little bit of a silly quirk for Jimbei, where he's like, okay, we need a name for this operation.
yeah. I look, not only the name, but the fact that he just kind of, about the Ryugu Castle thing, like, figure it out. It's like, this is, if you weren't already endeared to Jimbei enough, and if you're not, you're a monster. But like, we're seeing so many sides to him at this point that it's just like he's just such a goofy, wonderful dad.
Mm-hmm. Well, we go back to the present. Hody is standing up after that attack from Luffy. The people are cheering. And, of course, we got this striped fish man who I can never remember his name.
I think he's Zio?
Yeah, I think you're right. We have his whole thing of him being ignored, so he's doing this
Yeah.
like whole big villain speech, getting ready to, and everybody's ignoring him, and just talking to each other.
I don't think this gag was worth a 2-page spread. I'm just gonna say it.
Probably not. I think it was more of a way to squeeze in just all the Straw Hats talking to each other.
Yeah, they're all just, but yeah, the banter is fun, and maybe because the sort of his gimmick of being ignored and then just playing it cool is not funny enough to carry this whole scene. But I do like that one that Luffy calls Shirahoshi Wimpy Hoshi, which is an upgrade from just Wimpy.
And I love how that actually touches her.
Yeah.
Jimbei encourages her, is like, no, you stay the way you are. To end the cycle of hatred is the wish of all great people. The bud of peace must one day blossom throughout the whole island, and you protected that bud all these years by yourselves, so let us protect it with you together. And that's our whole fight.
I really like how taken Jimbei is with it. Like, he feels like the one who is the most surprised by, like, you can imagine from all of the hatred that he has seen throughout his life, and that he has encountered a person so willing to be above it all just for the sake of her mom and her dying wish. Like, I love that.
Also, just odd to seeing just how big Shirahoshi is, that she's the same size as the Sunny.
Yeah.
And Luffy
Really
just
puts it in
going up,
perspective.
oh,
Good
yeah.
God.
It's like, oh, you're not a wimp, but you're still a big crybaby.
Yeah.
but Hody's not happy. He's upset at Jimbei for playing him for a fool. He finds Vanderdecken useless because
Which,
Shirahoshi's
hey, we finally
still
agree
not
on
dead.
something. Hody finally said something I like.
And of course, he's just going over is like, no. You've betrayed Fishmen by aligning yourselves with these humans. You were with Fisher Tiger. You were with Arlong, both taken down by humans, and still aligning with humans. And now we get the full breadth of his plan, where the Reverie ties into much more than we thought.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just interrupting it, but still going to it and taking the opportunity to murder all the other kings of the world. Holy crap, that's...
Yeah, no, he's...
On one hand, ingenious. On the other hand, I feel like he'd be stopped pretty quickly.
Yeah, it depends.
Are admirals there to protect them? What happens at the Reverie? We don't know enough, but if left to his own devices, he could absolutely pull that off.
He could probably take one or two before he gets caught.
Yeah.
which would be enough. Maybe. But, like, I do like that there is sort of, I mean, Hody, again, just going back to my complaint of him being like a mustache twirling villain, this is his speech to say that he's going to take over the world, basically.
Yeah, basically it's like, I'm going to drag all the humans underwater, make them our slaves, make them part of this army that I already have of these other pirates, and you can see just how excited they are to be slaves.
Yeah.
And of course does the one thing that will set Luffy off. I alone am fit to be the true pirate king.
Yeah, he just snaps.
No.
Yeah. And here... this is probably the most conflicted I've felt just with the art lately in general, because this is such an amazing moment, right? Mm-hmm. Where they've got 10,000 and it's just, we've got 10,000 or not 10,000, God, 100,000. And they all charge at the Straw Hats, they're all getting ready. They're all kind of, doing their banter. I love that Sanji's like, there's 10 of us, so we need to clobber 10,000 apiece. And Luffy just like, he walks in front of it all, and he activates his Supreme King Haki, and people just start dropping like flies.
It's amazing.
It is. And just like that shot of like everybody's just down, and you see Luffy standing in the middle of it all. Just, you see Hody and some of the other fishermen just like freak out. He got half of them, but like, I think it was these two spreads back to back that had me going like, man, I really wish that these moments got more time to breathe, because they feel really cluttered.
A little bit. I didn't mind it in the moment, but I can see that as on the reread where it's just sort of that happening. And to be fair, we knew that the Straw Hats would take down these guys so quickly, but I'm sorry, if we see Luffy take out 50,000 men with just the Supreme King Haki, Hody stands no chance. It immediately just makes him not a threat.
You could have just imagined a situation like there are probably people at the Reverie at Marijoa who have Haki way stronger than Luffy's.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Jimbei himself comments, he's like, he can do this after only 2 years of training.
Yeah.
And
to be fair, it's incredible. It's amazing. This is one of his coolest moments, without a doubt.
I realize where I think Thriller Bark might be just a bit stronger, because this has the better flashback, even though Brooks is amazing. Mm-hmm. The stakes are better in Thriller Bark, because it's not just that Mori is stronger or anything. It's what happened to Luffy, how they were taken by surprise, how their shadows were stolen, how there's a ticking clock, much more so.
There was a lot of tension.
Yeah, there's a lot of points here where this is very much cut and dry compared to Thriller Bark.
And you obviously know everybody's going to make it out all right in Thriller Bark, but there's just enough interesting kind of little like wrinkles that are just like, oh, again, there was the fact that, they had like a pretty strict time limit and, like, hey, if you don't meet this time limit, you're going to die. Whereas as cool as it is to just, and as we'll see, next chapter, like, we're just going to start seeing people just style on Hody's army, which is awesome. But I feel like is not awesome enough to sustain a whole like story arc or even just the action segment of one. So, but I also understand like it has been 2 years and we got to see him show off a little bit. But I guess I wish there was it feels like there's been no pushback so far. And I don't know if there ever really will be.
I have a feeling no. Like there might be a little bit here and there, but not enough to really feel like any major pushback, which is, again, fine. Oda has found ways to have other wrinkles happen when it's been obvious that Luffy's stronger than who he's fighting. There's always that way for it. And maybe Hody will introduce that himself once we get to the proper fight. But we do have this, this is the opportunity to finally see the fruits of all this training and see what these guys can do and just, as you said, style on them. But I do love how we have everybody ready to go and Luffy just ending like, you can play being a regular king all you want, but there's only room in this world for one king of the pirates. And that's when he just unleashes.
I love it that's what set him off. Like, Luffy he didn't really care until he said that.
Very much so. But that's the end of that chapter. We do have an SBS where we get to see all of the supernovas as kids. They're about what you'd expect. I do like the little detail that Drake is, in marine clothes. Yeah,
he always wanted to be a marine. Unlike last time with the warlords, I don't think there's anything in here that's like too like, oh. So it's just
not really. I mean,
nice and cute.
You get to sort of see their origins, sort of what they're all about. Seeing Kid playing with the robots to show his tech side. Bonnie eating a bunch, so she's always been like that. She's a little dirty, so maybe she came from a poor place, and that's why she's eating a bunch. Everybody sort of has their personalities down to what we've seen them at this point. The one part that I do like, and it's nothing major, it's just a reference to an SBS. Remember how Oda said Killer ate, he never took off the mask? He ate noodles. So what is he eating even as a kid? Noodles. Yeah. So he's all good.
That's all good. Yeah. I also like that Law is he's just already taken apart frogs.
Oh yeah. Well, let's get to chapter 635, our last for the set. So scared I ran up to the sky.
Which is so dumb. So dumb.
Yep. But we get to see what Wapple's up to, where he is, thanks to his capitalism, I guess, he's been able to found the evil Black Drum Kingdom. What the?
No, he literally is just like, I'm going to make my own drum kingdom with blackjack and hookers. Literally hookers.
Well, did he get married to that girl, or is she still just his girlfriend? I don't know. And then there was this weird dog that always peed on him before that's now dressed up like a superhero.
I want to say that they're married, but I am not sure. Also, because this is another one of those things where I remember this character from something further on in the future and forgot that it was introduced here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not in a big deal kind of way.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Wapple's definitely got himself some more power, but I definitely doesn't look any stronger.
Yeah, no, he's living it up.
We get into the chapter itself, and it is fight time. That is really all there is to say about that. Where Hody immediately, like they're all getting ready to take out all the remaining 50,000 men. Hody immediately tries to take out Shirahoshi, realizing that she's just a massive target. But it's stopped before even Luffy does anything. And this is the other part that just sort of clowns on Hody.
Yeah.
Like, Jimbei was able to deflect a water shot, Hody's water shot with a water shot of his own. So Jimbei's a monster too. It's like, and Jimbei's just like, I don't know how you acquired that power, but it's merely the fishman karate of a novice. And that's the thing that got me. It's like, oh, you might be strong, but you have no training.
Yeah, basically. Man, God, Jimbei's so cool. I'm just giggling here like a schoolgirl, just like, man, he's the best.
Mm-hmm. And we finally get to see Brook do something, which is kind of the same as what we've seen before, but it's a little different. Rather than putting him directly to sleep with his music, he's able to cast sort of a mass hypnosis and has them fire all their guns into the sky rather than at people. And we can sort of see like the party atmosphere that they're imagining in their heads. And while they're dazed out of their minds from all that, he does his special cut and takes them all down. So yeah, that's a cool variation. I like how he sort of has this hypnosis ability with him now.
Yeah, it does feel very kind of ghostly. You know, you're kind of afflicting them with like apparitions, and you know, you're making them see things.
Exactly. I'm glad Brook got to go first, show off what he can do. Next up is Zoro with his black rope dragon twister, taking out the shell unit with their iron shells with no issue whatsoever, and even has that tornado of blades still going through and tearing up the rest of the people. So, it's just like,
all right, it gets to last. It's got a little bit of permanence, so that's fun.
We also have another state of Zoro now where he, has that sort of kimono type thing. And before, whenever he's in battle mode, he put on the bandana. Now it's bandana on, shirt off.
Oh, of course. Which, the ladies love it.
Oh, yeah. So the rest of the men try to, let's go up to the sky and attack her from the air. They can't stop us there, and we'll take that method. Meanwhile, the urchin spike unit surround Sanji, are getting ready to impale him just by all driving into him. And this causes a flashback, and I'm not a fan of him calling them hideous monsters.
No, me neither.
That part sucks. Don't love that. No. But the explanation of his training is also kind of amazing, where he would just run and run and run to not be caught by them. And then one day he was actually cornered with nowhere left to run. So he ran right up into the sky with his skywalk, which, thank you, Robin, for reminding me that CP9 could do that.
Yeah, so he basically figured out, I think they called it moonwalk, I think. I
forget what they called it, but yeah, it's a sense. We saw it. I don't know what it was called, but it was pulled off, and it's like, okay, good. That's cool. I also like how Robin's looking up and it's like, oh, it's just like CP9's as she's cracking necks. Yeah,
which is fun. And then, as silly as it is, but just genuinely, I do like that Sanji can fly now. Like that's a cool. Yeah, and that it's like, I don't know if I ever really thought about it back during Water 7 when we saw CP9 do it, or just like, because it's what did Luffy say the explanation was? They're kicking the air like 1,000 times a second or something like that, and so it didn't occur to me like, oh, that does sound like something that Sanji would potentially be able to do.
Yeah, and he didn't even try to do it himself. He just, out of desperation, pulled it off.
Yeah.
So. Then we get Robin's new ability, Milfleur's Gigantesco Mono, and there's a fetish here.
Yeah. She could spawn big limbs now, and these limbs are naked.
Yeah, just giant versions of her legs. Thank God she's sitting where she's standing where she's at, and then she just has them
very
coming out of the ground and just stomping all over the place. It is it's strange
bizarre
visual.
It is, but sure, why not? That's how I feel about it. Like, you know what? Sure.
Yeah, that's where I came down on that one. So the poison unit's going to go in because no matter how big she is, poison will still be effective. But that's when it's time for Frankie to show off with his 2 new units for the Sunny. The Black Rhino FRU-4, which, a Rhino bike that just mows through enemies, smashes metal. And then also the Brachio Tank 5, which is just a Brachiosaurus-shaped tank that Chopper's piloting.
Yeah, Chopper piloting it is the most adorable thing.
Actually, I think Usopp's piloting it and Chopper's, I guess, commanding it. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, just the visual of Chopper being just like his little head popping out of the top. Yeah, it looks like Usopp's actually piloting it, but Frankie's bringing out the heavy artillery. I love this for him.
I know. I love Papa Goose's comment is like, isn't he supposed to be a shipwright? Why is he making these crazy weapons?
Right. But that is, I mean, God, that's Frankie in his element, isn't it? When you think about it.
Oh yeah. That's what he's all been about. I kind of forgot about that aspect of him that just carries on, where he just makes crazier weapons for the Straw Hats to use. And of course, just amazes the crowds. Like, wow, the 10 of them are a match for the 100,000.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Hody has had enough. He's like, all right, Kraken, you take care of them. Put an end to this. And they're like, oh no, not the monster Kraken. They don't stand a chance against that colossal thing. And and apparently the Kraken came from the North Pole, so that's interesting. But Luffy, sees him. It's like, hey, Surame, it's me. You were our pet before, remember? We're friends. And as soon as Surame sees him, he just starts going wild on all of the fishmen and starts just knocking them around.
It's full on chaos at this point. And it just, poor Hody is just, like, oh, my plan's foiled again.
Yep.
That's how it feels here.
Again, he had plans for taking on the world government. I'm sorry.
I don't think he was ready. It kind of reminds me, again, it does kind of remind me of Arlong, actually, in that way, where he was clear, he was basically going to take over the East Blue as his starting point. And he clearly, I don't know if he really had a plan after that. Which
is weird because he went up against Kizaru. And
that's a good point.
You'd think he'd have an idea, but I guess it's the same thing as Moria, where it's just like, more men. That's all we need. Yeah. Just more men to overwhelm them.
Yeah. Which, hey, good on you, on y'all villains for not giving up. You see how high the bar is, and you're just like, no, my plans must come to fruition.
Quantity. What we need is quantity. That's the only way to win this.
More men. Yeah. I mean, at this point, it really is hard to take Hody seriously on any level. Mm-hmm. And it has just been kind of watching him get embarrassed, like chapter after chapter.
Yeah, he got his nice upgrade, and then immediately just lowering in stock. But
yeah,
I'm holding out my full thoughts on it until I see the actual fight between him and Luffy to see if it's just a straight fight or if there's some sort of twist.
Yeah, I remember a couple of things, but definitely not sort of the full picture where this is going to go.
I guess we'll find out because that's. I think these obviously we still went over an hour, but I think it's going to get a little shorter now that we're getting into the fighting bits. Like this last chapter went quick.
Yeah. It really was just kind of a beatdown, and it is cool to see all of those Straw Hats with all their new abilities, and we haven't even seen them all. We haven't quite seen what Usopp's capable of yet, or Chopper for that matter.
Yeah, we're just waiting to see what they pull out. I'm sure it'll happen here soon as we break off. I don't even know how many men Hody really has who get to match up with who. So I guess we'll find out. And we still have Vanderdecken's throwing of Noah coming at us, so we got to take care of that issue, which definitely seems like the bigger issue. That's sort of our twist on things, because we lost the time limit of Neptune being executed. Now it's, oh crap, a giant ship is coming right at us.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out what that's all about.
But with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 631 to 635 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I am at Brandon Bovia on Twitter, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job, and just, ready to talk about more One Piece next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, we should probably expand our social media a little bit, because I am on Blue Sky as well. I think you are as well. I mean,
I am.
Things are looking less and less good over on there, so maybe we want to do more socials in the future.
Yeah, I'll have to try to remember that.
If you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER. Do listen to the next episode ad-free 3 days early. And make sure to return next time as we discuss chapters 636 to 640 of One Piece. So until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Princess, you knew all of this and yet you never told a soul?
How could I? If I did, I was afraid that our countrymen might hold a grudge against Hody. And that is not what my dear mother would have